and start the meeting. So we are indeed recording. I want to thank you all for coming. And I thank you for accommodating what was a required move that we had to make. They organized the faculty recognition luncheon at the same time we had originally scheduled this. And so I hope that this did not. Okay. There we go. I'm not muted now, correct? Okay, cool. I would like to welcome you all to the meeting. The primary, one of the primary things that we're going to be doing today is presenting slates that we will ask you to vote on next week. We are having elections for lots and lots of things, and so we wanted to cover the basic ground of that. I do want to say that your union has been very busy on your behalf. We have been looking at all kinds of problems that are emerging, and we are trying to get ready for next year and certainly the year after that. And so understand that if you have any problems, we would like to hear about them, because if there's something that we can do, we would like to try to do something. And if there's nothing we can do, we can at least try to explain maybe there's someone else who can do something. So our first item of business is a report by the nominations committee. We would like to thank Holly Greiner Hallman, David Garfinkel, and Daniel Lugaki, who served on the nominations committee for the EC positions. And I'm going to ask David Garfinkel to present the candidates that they have nominations for.
Okay, I can do that. Let's see. Do I have the ability to share my screen?
I think so. Let me know if you don't.
Okay, let's see if this works. Okay, can you see this?
Yay!
Okay, fantastic. All right, so anyway, we have a number of offices up for election, and as I understand it, it's required that we have at least 2 candidates for each office. So we're almost there. Let me tell you sort of who we've, managed to cajole into running for these offices. For president, the candidates are Mike Latcha and Allison Bone. For treasurer, so far, we have Joy Jiang as a candidate. So I guess that means we need at least 1 more candidate. There are 2 different at-large positions that are up for election, one for 1 year and one for 2 year. So for the 1 year position, Jacob Becker, Sarah Newton, and Annette Gilson are running. For the 2 year at-large position, the candidates are Helen Levinson, Sumi Dinda, and Tom DeSena. There is also an at-large position specifically for untenured faculty, and Molly McGuire so far is the candidate for that. And there is an at-large position that is supposed to be filled by a special lecturer, and we have Bernadette Donahue running for that. Okay, so that's basically the whole thing. if anyone wants sort of a copy of this, I can email it to them. And I don't know whether sort of I'm supposed to say this or give it back to Karen, but in addition, nominations from the floor are also both accepted and encouraged, with the proviso that you should probably find out if someone is willing to run before nominating them. All right, so I think that's all I have to say, and I'll go ahead and stop sharing here.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, David. Thank you, the committee, for your work. We will need to fill out these slates so that we have enough candidates to run the election. Once we've done that, then we're good to go. We do accept nominations from the floor, as it were. However, as David pointed out, please ask the person first before you nominate them, particularly if they're not here. We've had that happen in the past, and no, we don't endorse that kind of activity. There are also statements by the nominees that have been posted on the website. So there are candidate statements that people have made. So if there are people who maybe one of the candidates for an office, but you don't know the other, at least you can find out something about why they're running for that particular spot. That is you can find out more about the candidates and do that sort of thing. Do we have any nominations from the floor for any of these EC positions? Going once, going twice. Okay. If you know of anyone who might be interested, can you please contact one of the members of the nominating committee so that we can get these ballots fleshed out so that we can hold the election?
David, and I don't know if Holly's in here, and Danielle, could you put your email addresses in the chat, please?
Sure, will do.
That also, I would just like to remind everybody, you should have gotten a notice on Monday that FRPC elections are ongoing. So if you could please, if you haven't already voted for FRPC, if you could please go ahead and do that. It's an important governance committee, and we would like to have a kind of sense of folks endorsing candidates and voting for them, and all that good stuff. Even if you're a full professor and will never be reviewed again, it's important. Vote.
Just so everyone knows, the FRPC election going on right now is just in the School of Business, School of Nursing, College of Arts and Sciences, and the library. And the only people who should have received ballots are full-time non-visiting faculty members. And if you didn't receive it, look in your spam, because that's where it is. It's in your spam folder.
Mine was in my spam folder. So I'm not quite sure. I would like to believe that there was a conspiracy against me, but I understand rationally that that's not fair. Anyway, so yes. Okay, so that's the first item that we've taken care of. The second thing we're going to go over is the nominations committee for the negotiating slate. As we move into the negotiating cycle, a committee is formed, and they will recommend a chief negotiator and a team. It's an entire slate. And so you will be voting either to approve or disapprove of the slate. First, I would like to thank the members of the committee. That was me, Kara Shelley, and Kelly Hay were getting the nominations together. that the lead negotiator will be Tom DeSena. He's a past president of the union and also has been active in union affairs during his time at Oakland. Also on the team will be Kara Shelley, Lori Ostergaard, Jacob Becker, Casey Tomlin, Helen Levinson, Amy Pollard, and Bob Fetter. Bob Fetter is our chapter lawyer. And so we will be continuing to have him on the committee. Yes, Sumi.
Yeah, I mentioned this last week in the advisory committee meeting. I was just thinking, attending the Senate meeting, I think a lot of issues are on stake for this bargaining unit year because we have a severe budget cut. So I propose that we should conduct a vote in the membership body that the chief negotiator, if membership wants as a lawyer, because Boom will be the lawyer for the university. And I think Bob or whoever should represent our organization. One thing will accomplish here, the emotions will be out of the negotiation as faculty. So Bob is an external member and he also is trained in the negotiation tactics. So, but there was never a vote conducted if the union membership wants a lawyer as chief negotiator or co-chief negotiator.
Well, I will point out that, first of all, one of the reasons that we select our team this early in the cycle is so that they can attend professional training, essentially, run by our union in terms of how to negotiate. It is the position both of the AAUP and of the AFT that their experience is that having an external lawyer as your chief negotiator actually works against the chapter. That statistically speaking, those chapters do not do as well at the bargaining table because they don't fully understand what's at stake. It is the EC's prerogative to go ahead and nominate a committee. We actually had conversations with AAUP National. I've talked to AFT Michigan about this question, and there is a consensus of union leadership that we are better off using a lawyer on the team, but not as the chief bargainer. Also, it is, although we have no idea who their chief will be, I have noticed comments that make me believe that it's possible that Rob Boonen's star is diminishing a little bit in the eyes of the administration. So I don't think that's safe to assume that he will be their chief. He might be, but
I think they extended his contract, as far as I know. So
that's not what I'm hearing, but I also am not a member of the administration. So, I would say that I think this is one of those times when you talk to the folks who have a lot of experience, and we need to move forward on this, and that this is something that we did consider, and we asked other people's advice, and we determined that it would simply delay our preparation and would not necessarily yield a better result.
but why not conduct a vote of the membership body? The union stands for the membership, right? Am I wrong? So you even are not asking the membership in general what we think, or not what I think, all of the members. Now, if the membership says, no, we want a faculty. I'm not against Tom, first of all. I'm just thinking that it will be a better tactics if Bob handled it, because Bob knows our procedures, sat on couple of negotiations and helped us. So that's my opinion. I don't know other people what they think, but the only way you know if you put a slate.
I will say that we asked Bob, and Bob said that he thought that he would not do better. It's not that we haven't considered it. It's just that we considered it and determined that it wasn't necessary to hold an election, and that it was in the better interests of the faculty to negotiate a contract to follow the bylaws as they are normally followed.
And I guess I'm supposed to raise my hand, but I'm just gonna say, I'm gonna jump in, and I came in a little bit late here, but Tom DeSena, we're lucky if he's willing to do this for us and on behalf of the membership. So I'm thrilled to have him as the lead for my if we're gonna take opinions. So just throw that out there.
Colleen?
Yeah, I'm just gonna also defend the choice of Tom DeSena. I understand what Rumi is saying from a logistical standpoint, but I have the office next to Tom, and if I am remembering right, his research is about the legal ramifications of unions in education. So he is very educated about how these things work. So I think, he probably has different knowledge, but he has about as much knowledge as a lawyer would have about these kinds of negotiations. And he's been active in this union for like over 20 years. So I think he's an excellent choice, and I'm sure the two of them will, him and the lawyer will work hand in hand, even if they aren't co-directors. But if co-directors is an option, I think that might be a good one too, from a standpoint of, just how it looks in the papers or with the media and stuff. I don't know what people think of that.
I will say that the teams that we have had, certainly over the last 3 negotiations, the chief is the chief and is the primary spokesperson for the team. But in fact, the work is done in a collective way by the team. It is a genuine team. The team works together. They resolve issues together. And I've worked with Bob Fetter now for over a decade. And I know that Bob is not shy about suggesting ideas, that he will be there, and he will be ready to basically consult with the team and make his opinion known. As is the case in all of these negotiations, everyone will have their opportunity to voice their opinion. And I'm not sure that having co-directors changes that dynamic in any way. And I know Tom is very much dedicated to an idea of kind of, working as a committee, working as a group, not as, a leader plus a lot of people underneath him. David?
I also have a very high esteem for Tom, and I think he will do a great job. And while I, also, have great respect for Bob as an attorney, I see no advantage whatsoever to having an attorney as the chief. Just, as a sort of point of information, though, I want to, sort of, I mean, having been on the team, in, you know, a previous bargaining session, I want to, you know, sort of remind people that, you know, mostly what happens in negotiation is that the administration sort of stonewalls and delays for months and months and months. And then, you know, in the last, you know, week or a couple of days, they come up with ridiculous lowball offers and try to strong arm us into taking them. You know, so while it's important to have a strong team, you know, given that that's the way negotiations often go, it is equally important to have a unified faculty that's ready to strike and to have a skilled communication committee that at, you know, strike time will, you know, get our position out there to the students and the general public. So I mean, I think this is an excellent team, and I think we'll be well served by them. But we should remember that you know, teams can't, you know, produce miracles, and that a whole bunch of the heavy lifting is going to have to be done, you know, by all of us together.
Colleen, is your hand still up from before? Or did you have another thing? Okay, hand is down. Sumi?
Yeah, David, I agree with you, but you know, last time I remember the team had to write a letter asking faculty to ratify the contract because they were worried that the contract won't be ratified. And that was the first time from 2005, a AUP negotiation team had requested a letter. And if this is the case, then we have to change our tactics to go, and because we have to fight for what we have right now. I'm worried that they will decrease our retirement, healthcare, and pay because they will use the budget reduction card. And that's why I was suggesting what I was asking for, that a co-chair. If you guys don't want it, that's fine. But believe me, that will be the cards they will play, the budget card. I see it in the department, cutting budget, freezing position. I'm dealing with a lot of issues where administration just said we don't approve it. And that will be the same in the negotiation table. If we don't see that, we are blind. That's all I have to say.
Okay. Colleen?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't unmute before. So I said this in the chat, but I think Sumi has a good point in that the committee, the bargaining committee, once it forms, can discuss it. And I don't know the lawyer, but he and Tom can discuss it. But I think one of the reasons why Tom is chosen is I also think it was sort of his idea to do the hockey puck campaign when we were trying to get the locks on the doors after one of those shooting incidents. And he's in communications, and he's really skilled at getting the word out and getting the media on board and getting our message out so that we can do what the previous gentleman, Garfinke, I'm sorry, I don't know your first name, but said about, you know, sort of leveraging that power to get our, you know, to try and fight back some of our dignity in the contract negotiations. So I think that's why Tom is really strong. But, you know, if there's some legal issues that would make any difference, Sumi, I think it can be considered, but we'll just have to take it back to the committee to discuss.
Kathy?
I just wanted to say that I support having Tom or an academic as the chief negotiator. And I just want to echo what Karen said. I mean, I assume that The negotiating committee is going to work as a team, and the lawyer is going to be very involved in the process. But I think that we often think of negotiating as about salary and benefits, and retirement, and those things are vitally important, and probably for most of us, the first thing we think about. But a lot of our work processes are also part of our contract. And having, I think, a chief academic person, the chief negotiator is an academic person, I think is a good thing to have, because there are things, our tenure processes are in the are in the contract, layoff processes are in the contract. Like, there's a lot more to our contract that guarantees the transparency of Oakland as a workspace that I'm not sure maybe a lawyer would always be fully attendant to, or there might be nuances that as part of the team he would understand, but that other people might understand more. That's all I'm going to say.
David?
So I share Sumi's fears for what might, very well happen at the negotiating table. But I don't think putting a lawyer in charge will help. I mean, as Karen says, to the extent that we, know stuff about this, probably putting a lawyer in charge makes things worse rather than better. But I think again that I want to emphasize that the team does not control what happens, right? And the reason for things like letters from the team in favor of ratifying the contract is as the membership were often given what looks on the face of it and in some sense is a really bad contract. The only reason for voting for it is that even though it's a really bad contract, it's about the best contract we're likely to be able to get. So that's sort of the only reason for those letters. But I don't think it's all doom and gloom, because one of the things that we now have is a combination of Democratic governor and Democratic legislature, which means in particular that right to work can get repealed, and the hideous tilting of the playing field against us can be alleviated a little bit. I want to also mention that the governor appoints our board of trustees, and as the years go on, some of the more egregious Snyder appointed trustees rotate off, and we get Whitmer appointed trustees. And even better than that, we've actually, our leadership anyway, has had some communication with the governor's staff trying to influence the trustees that get appointed. So there are ways to actually make our situation better, and we are engaging in them. But there's no magic bullet of the form, if only the team were such and such, everything would be fine. So I think that this slate is the right slate for us. And while there's lots of things to worry about and lots of things to do, coming up with a different slate, I don't think is one of those things.
Chabi?
I have a question. So in these negotiation, is the chief negotiator is only allowed to communicate with the administration, or anybody on the team can actually communicate?
Are you asking if at the bargaining table are other people
Yes.
allowed to speak? Absolutely, other people are allowed to speak. Last time in 2021, I think every single member of our bargaining team spoke during bargaining. And that's actually used as part of strategy. As far as the main communications, like exchanging proposals and whatnot, the leads do that. But those are literally just sending documents back and forth. The actual preparation of the documents was something done by the team, if that helps answer your sort of question.
So when they're arguing about certain things, it's anybody on the table can actually speak up. Is that?
That's correct. That's correct. And-
Usually the idea is you have a strategy going in, you know what you're going to speak about. And
Right.
there's advantages to having this person speak on this subject versus this person. And so it's definitely very collaborative in that sense.
And
Mhm.
from their administration side, the lawyer is there along with the other administrators, or just the lawyer?
No,
Yeah,
it's their whole team.
Their whole team. It is more their practice.
I'm getting so mad every week. I get one wrong.
It's exactly how I feel some days. Their team is more likely just to let the lead talk. Though occasionally they do say things across the table. Our team is much more interactive, and I think this will continue with this team. People, I mean, we select a varied committee of people who are interested in a variety of things, and so they become sort of the expert in this particular set of questions. It's not that they're the only ones that study it, but they take the responsibility for diving deep into things. And so, you know, if somebody is the primary kind of researcher for healthcare and health insurance, then the other members of our team sort of turn to them and say, well, but it's done collectively. Now, official communication, so the bargaining diary is done by the chief. We certainly
Even that's not true. Even the
Oh, okay.
bargaining diary we did together. We had a
Okay.
Google document and we all drafted it together.
Okay, I stand corrected since I
Can
was.
I just give you an example just so, because I think it's really hard to imagine what the bargaining team does if you're not there. But this is just a small example because she's here, Lori. Lori is a professor in writing and rhetoric. And one of the things we argued about incessantly was changing the pronouns. Because the pronouns were gendered he, she pronouns in the contract, and we wanted them changed to the singular they. And their lawyer kept insisting that was not legally accurate and had no founding in history and literature and writing. And so that was the day when Lori took over. And, you know, Lori's got the background. And so that was the day when Lori was leading that conversation because it made sense to have the professor in writing and rhetoric speaking specifically to this language issue. So that's just one small example.
Okay, I think then whatever Sumi is bringing about actually gets solved, right? If Bob is present along with the team during entire duration of negotiation, then he is part of the team and actively can speak up, right? Or is that what is okay?
Absolutely, yeah. And there are times when the team turns to Bob and says, Bob, speak to this. And
Thank
he speaks to it, absolutely. So, any other questions or concerns? Todd?
Yeah, this is probably a fairly elementary question. My concern with the team isn't so much the team itself, but it just seems seems like an enormous amount of, obviously an enormous amount of pressure, but it also seems just physically exhausting because it seems like administration tries to physically exhaust, not mentally, I mean, mentally too, but just physically exhausting the bargaining team. And so I guess I just wonder, is there anything that could be done? Like could people like babysit and be like a holding group to be there so that the bargaining team can rest and then, you know, so that somebody's waiting, but it doesn't have to be the bargaining team getting worn out? I'm just trying to think, is there anything we can do to help the bargaining team from being just physically worn out? Yeah, I know, it wasn't caffeine.
Yeah, I would say, no, there's no formal way we could do that. But however, it's an interesting idea. We have in the past, and really, you know, there are stages where sometimes the team has to go down to the Merck offices downtown. And, you know, I've babysitted for people who were negotiating. And I would strongly encourage, if you have, even if you don't know people on the team, if these are all strangers to you, you know, if your skill is in, you know, making lasagna and dropping it off to people's homes, it would be deeply appreciated. And we can certainly ask the team if there are things that they would like. We try to be as nice to the team members as we possibly can and be as kind and loving as we possibly can. But sadly, under the practice of negotiation, I think we're limited to that.
Well, thank you for bringing that up. I just, that really stood out as just the physical wear and tear. I mean, I think it's easy to understand the emotional wear and tear of a negotiation. It's just, I think that there is probably a physical exhaustion component. So it's good to know that maybe there is something that the other members like us, like me, could try to do. Thank you for that.
Absolutely. Any other questions or concerns? Thank you for that volunteer. I just saw that. I'm bad at following the chat, but I really appreciate that. Yes, thank you. So once again, the EC, we are nominating the lead Tom DeSena, Carrie Shelley, Lori Ostergaard, Jacob Becker, Casey Tomlin, Helen Levinson, Amy Pollard, and Bob Fetter are the members of the team. We also have in our bylaws the provisions for alternate slates. So you may nominate from the floor or in tomorrow's meeting a slate of that would then be on the ballot against. I will point out the rules for that for those of you who aren't familiar with the bylaws in this area. There have to be 10 seconds to the slate. So 10 members of the faculty have to be in support of that slate. And the signatures of all of the people being nominated have to be attained. So we're not nominating people who don't want to do this service. So that is the provision of the bylaws that you can exercise if you choose. Do we have anyone who came prepared with an alternate slate? Okay, there we go. Okay, yes, Chabi.
I'm not in favor of alternate slate, but I think I saw some comment about the chat. You can have additional members helping the team out during the negotiation. So like, although you have executive committee, but you could invite other people who are totally invested in this issue to participate, maybe not in the actual room, right? But outside or wherever you're talking and speaking so that you can get additional ideas, guidance, or whatever you want to call it. And having few extra people wouldn't hurt the cause. That's my opinion.
I will say in the past, we have done things like that. So if we know we have members of the faculty who have expertise in an area, they will get an email or a phone call and we'll say, hey, what do you think about this? This is your area. I am a very strong believer in availing ourselves of any information we have, because in fact, we have a really good faculty. And I don't mean that in the blow off kind of way. We have people who really know stuff, and I am not shy to ask their opinion. And I think our next president, whoever gets elected, will not be shy to ask people's opinion. And we try as much as we can to get members helping us with their expertise in terms of these directions. So I can all but promise you that that will happen. If occasion rises that we need help, the team always asks for it. So, any other comments?
I'm just giving you a time check.
A time check. Oh, yes, okay. Okay. One last nomination that first of all, I would like to thank very deeply Diane Hartmus, who has served as our contract officer for a long time and has tirelessly been sort of prodded to give her opinion on things and help us with the contract. So I very much want to thank Diane for all her work for the union. But we will be putting up a new contract officer, Francine Geis, is also going to be up for approval voting. And so she will be on the ballot as well. I wanted to give you some update on chapter issues. That we had some of you, I think, went. We had the annual. We've done it twice now, so we now call it the annual. OUSC, OUAAUP labor panel event that we had a wonderful time, and lots of students and some faculty and a few, staff people came and heard from all these very different perspectives on the contemporary labor movement. We will continue to do that every year as long as this university exists. That's our plan. And so we will encourage all of you to suggest potential speakers, but also because we don't know everybody, but some of your former students who might now be presidents of their unions, or might be organizing unions, or might be a labor lawyer, or there's all sorts of things. So we strongly encourage you to suggest things, but also topics. Should we, we have not really focused in on saying we want you all to speak on this particular topic, not, how do you respond to the Janus decision or things like that, but we've sort of allowed people to say what they think is most important. But I would certainly encourage you, if there's something that you think we ought to cover in the labor panel, please feel free to suggest your ideas, and hopefully a speaker who might speak to that. But we very much would like to have your input on this, because we hope to make it already is a vibrant event, but we would like to strengthen it even more. And that will happen as we get more and more people involved. We also have some campus safety issues that I wanted to address. It has come to our understanding that some of the laboratories do not have internal flip locks, and that has concerned the people who work in those laboratories. Why are they different than classrooms? So we have been working with the administration. We do not yet have a timeline. We are hoping to have one soon. We're still in the polite phase, but that's not going to last much longer. That we do want to have locks on certainly all of the educational spaces first and foremost, but we want to create an environment where our faculty feel safe. And if locks make you feel safer, then we want you to have locks. And certainly any other safety issues that you are concerned about, we would be more than happy to hear from you about those. Also, just as a point, it was raised in the advisory forum a while back, right after the MSU shooting, that we should acknowledge and give thanks to Professor Marco Diaz-Munoz, who was the professor who desperately held the door shut in the classroom to keep the shooter from killing his students. If they had had our locks on his classroom door, he wouldn't have had to have risked his life quite in that way. And so we did, we made a contribution in his name. There's a fund for the survivors of that. And so we contributed in his name, but we also sent him a specific recognition, and just in solidarity, because here's a faculty member who was doing what we hope that no faculty member ever has to do. And we thought we should do something. And so we did. I will say also, you should have gotten the workplace satisfaction survey and summary that went out. We have also sent it to the top administrators and the members of the board. And if you have any concerns about the survey, we would gladly hear about them. We are going to try to do this. Our goal is to be able to have longitudinal data to see. So we designed the questions very similar to those of last year. We tried to make them more clear. We improved the survey technique a little bit, but that way we can compare this year's answers to last year's answers and next year's answers to and so hopefully that will give us a better sense of where we're going as a university or as a faculty. That also, I just wanted to, if you have already gotten the university announcements, we had 2 new Board of Trustees appointees, Colleen Ocha-Peters and Stefan Welch. The AUP now interviews all candidates for BOT nomination. We basically got that through our AFT affiliation. There was only one candidate that was proposed to us that we thought would have been a horrible decision. We're happy with the people who were appointed. And we are pushing to have greater and greater communication between the faculty and the Board of Trustees. I have met several times with members of the board, most notably David Kramer, who was the first person who was willing to meet with me without an administrator present. But also will be continuing to try to meet with as many board members as I can. That also Caitlin Dempsey, who is the vice president of the union, will also be meeting so that we have continuity, so that, it's not just me, it's, the entire executive committee. We've also been pushing on the administration to continue having luncheons with members of the faculty and members of the Board of Trustees on the afternoon before the board meeting. So if you're interested in attending these, we only ask that you not hit anybody, but they're actually, when you sit down at a table and talk to them, they're pretty nice, and they seem very interested in learning more about us, at least the ones who come to the luncheons. And we are trying to get as varied a group as we can. So we want to have people from all the units. We want to have people from all the ranks. So if you're a special lecturer and say nobody cares about special lecturers, that's not true. We would like you to come to one of these luncheons. It's perfectly fine buffet lunch. It's Chartwell's, but it's good Chartwell's because the president's there. I think if we can keep these going, they will be helpful. I know David Kramer, who is on the board, very much wants to have a higher visibility of the board on campus. So he wants to encourage members of the board to attend more university functions, to maybe, sponsor university functions where you get to meet students and faculty and staff and so on and so forth. So I see that as a good step forward, and I am hoping that will continue the push forward. So if you want to come to lunch, send me the only thing is it has to be before a board meeting, because that's the only time we can get them to guarantee that more than one of them will show up. But we'd be happy to put you on the list. We don't make the list, but so far I've been fairly successful in terms of getting people invited. So.
I just want to amplify everything Karen just said about the change in the relationship between the union and the Board of Trustees. For those of you who haven't been around or maybe haven't been paying attention, there was over a decade there where no member of the Board of Trustees would talk to anyone on the AAUP. And now I can pick up the phone or I can email at least 2 of them and know they will respond to me. So maybe baby steps, but I think they're really important baby steps and they're in the right direction.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Okay. Now we have time for new business. Is there anything that y'all think we ought to be doing or knowing about and you have not yet had an opportunity to do that? Oh, yes, Angel.
Hi everyone, hi Karen. Well, you don't know this, but I'm based in Ann Arbor and I got a message that the GEO in Ann Arbor, they are going to strike apparently sometime between March 27 or 28 or something on those lines. So I guess we could have some of the members or folks who are interested to show up to the picket lines. They have a form where you can sign up for times, and if you're interested, I can send that your way, Amy, or anyone on the
If
over
you
there.
please.
Angel, if you send it to me, I can get it out to the membership.
Okay,
If
that's
you've
it. Thank you.
if you've never been on somebody else's picket line, it's really a lot of fun. It's, you know, I was at Eastern, it was great. It was much more, it's much less stressful than being on your own picket line. So, yes, have fun, go have fun, go meet some new people, go live in solidarity. Okay. Allison.
Yeah, I can comment a little bit more on the GEO strike. So I'm a member of GEO as well as AAUP. Well, this chapter, obviously. But we voted on Monday, between Monday and Tuesday, to vote for the strike. So the initial vote to vote for strike has happened. I think we're voting on Monday to officially go on strike, but the numbers were insane. They were like 592 to 1 on initiating the vote to strike. So it's gonna happen. And I think a lot of the issues were not that the GEO is facing is having to do with like discriminatory like issues in the contract. I know there has been some positive headway, but that's just for like PhD students and just PhD students in the LSA, which is their the Language and Science College. So it's starting to get like divisive. They have been like arguing over accessibility issues and stuff, and it's just not like nobody's settling anything. And I know a lot of people are really upset, but also like worried about like just their treatment as like human beings, like they're like accessibility type stuff. They won't even change like language in the contract for like inclusivity reasons. It's not great. So yeah, and two, I would love to see some OU people on campus. Like it would just make me feel like I'm home again. So please come visit. But if anybody has any questions or anything about GEO stuff, and it's really cool. I love to know, or it's nice to know that there's another OU person in Ann Arbor. So nice to unofficially meet you, Angel.
Nice to meet you, Allison. We need to get together. Let me know what days you're planning to picket, so maybe we can converge there.
Oh
at the
yeah,
same
that'd be
time.
great.
Well,
I will send you my email in the chat.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'll copy it here.
So, okay. I love it. I love it. I love it. Anyway, okay. Any other things that we need to know about? Not seeing it. I think I'm not seeing any hands. Okay. Up. Yes, Ken.
I have to say something in any meeting I've been in. I just want to say is everybody's aware there's a process underway in the OU Senate to basically update our Constitution, which has language which is kind of locked in 1984. If anybody's got questions about that, feel free to give me a poke, an email, or call me. There's nothing nefarious happening. There really is a desire to kind of update it. Have the list of all the actual modern names of all the faculty groups that we have. Yes, 84 was a good year. I agree. Boom, boom, the Apple came out, the Mac came out. It was a good year. But anyway, it hasn't been updated since then. So there's some things being updated. Please listen to everybody can attend Senate meetings on Zoom. So please do that. And please bring your concerns to anybody on Senate steering, or, ask to speak. You don't have to be a senator at a Senate meeting to get a chance to speak necessarily. And the provost likes to give people a chance to speak. So that's all I'll say on that.
As your resident negative Nelly, which is my job, it doesn't matter whether changes are nefarious or not. We all have to be vigilant about whether or not changes impact shared governance. So I just urge people to be cautious about that. And that's all I will say.
Yeah. One thing that might be argumentative for changes is, generally the administration would like to put a couple extra deans on. But most of the deans that we have on in our Senate, of course, they have faculties. The Dean of Engineering is there. And as new faculties were added, Health and SHS, the SOM itself, you add the dean automatically by our rules, and you add 3 more elected faculty seats. So probably people aren't necessarily keen with adding more deans without adding more faculty elected seats, because as a voting body, the Senate is a body that is basically controlled by elected faculty voting. We have 65 senators. A group of them are appointed, but 47 of them are elected faculty. And so that is definitely a key place for shared governance, a very important place. If you haven't, if you're confused by the Senate or new to it, I'll meet you for a coffee anytime and talk to you about anything you want and fill you in. Please say hello.
And I would just also kind of amplify that you should all have, because senators are elected, there should be a senator that it is likely that a member of your faculty is a senator. So it's easy to go and get the list of senators. You don't have to just talk to a stranger on steering. You can talk to somebody from your department or some other thing. So I very strongly encourage people to attend Senate meetings, even when they aren't senators, just so they know what's going on. They can be tragically boring, but sometimes boring is good. I just want to say boring makes me feel like things are not being derailed. And so that's not necessarily a bad thing. So anything else? We're running out of time. So I'm going to very quickly go to good and welfare. Ellen Cassidy, who wrote 9 to 5, A Woman's Movement, a Labor Union, and the Iconic Movie, will be doing a presentation on campus. It's via Zoom, but that will be on the 29th of this month, March. That also the advisory forum will be meeting on April the 13th at noon. And also we will be having an end of the semester happy hour on April the 19th at the Red Ox. There's not going to be a happy hour this month because we are also unhappy. No, that's not really why. But next month, as hopefully we have our grades under control and, things are not quite as frantic as they can be in March, we will see you all out for a drink and maybe something to eat, and we'll take over half of the restaurant and make all the engineers, not the engineering faculty, but make all the engineers who come from the Chrysler sad that we are now dominating. So anyway, that last part was totally facetious. I have nothing against the engineers at Chrysler, by the way. So in that case, because we are out of time, we're 1 minute over, I will hopefully, I have answered all of your concerns and you are informed as to your direction. Thank you very much for your time. And the meeting tomorrow is, you may attend the meeting tomorrow. It will be face-to-face, but you are not required because it's exactly the same agenda as today. So don't feel that you will miss anything that would be fundamental. You'll get all the basic same news. So I thank you very much for your participation and your support, and even all of your criticisms, because I actually enjoy figuring out where I might get better. So thank you very much.